Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Ishrat Hussain, President MAP, Mr. Asif Ikram, Executive Committee members, MAP's past presidents, MAP members, CEOs, and the management of participating companies, and distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to MAP's 33rd Corporate Excellence Award Ceremony. This is Ushna Nihal, Master Ceremony for today's program. Our partners for today's event are Grand Partner, Indus Motor Company Limited, Crystal Partner, Jubilee Life Insurance Company Limited, our Silver Partners, Sikpa Inc. Pakistan Limited and Atlas Battery Limited, our Bronze Partner, Jubilee General Insurance Limited. We shall begin our proceedings with the recitation from the Holy Quran.
الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان
Jazakallah. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up for our national anthem. Mr. Asif Ikram to give his welcome address. Mr. Asif Ikram, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Dr. Ishrat Hussain, former Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, distinguished guests, members of the Executive Committee, MAP members, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon and welcome to MAP's 33rd Corporate Excellence Award Ceremony. It is indeed a great honor for the Management Association of Pakistan to have you with us for this occasion on the 33rd Corporate Excellence Awards. The management paradigm in the last century centered on control and efficiency no longer suffices. In a world where adaptability and creativity drive business success. To thrive in the future, companies must reinvent themselves. Organizations of today are facing many challenges, and they have not faced before. And managing these challenges leads to achieving excellence. That is why we are here this afternoon to honor and recognize business excellence in our country. MAP is 50 years young. Many landmarks have been achieved during this half century. In a time span of 50 years, we've had this 33 Corporate Excellence Awards, 19 annual conventions, and a number of programs have been held in a variety of topics. The association has organized 1,600 seminars, workshops and training courses. 54,000 participants have participated and benefited from these programs. Internationally, also MAP has been expanding its role through our membership of Asian Association of Management Organizations, or AMO. Collaboration with AMO has expanded opportunities for MAP members through participation in Young Managers Program, Asian Management Games for the young managers, nominees from our institutional members like EFU Life, Allied Rental Modarba participated in Asian Management Games in 2017. TRILA, Tun Razak Youth Leadership Award program is held in collaboration with AMO and Malaysian Institute of Management, where MAP members can join a 5-day youth training camp in Malaysia. A nominee from Pakistan State Oil was selected to participate in this program in 2017. Another recently added benefit for our individual members is to subscribe for individual membership of any of the Asian associations of member organizations, be it in Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Macau, Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, and Philippines, to benefit from their programs. I would urge our member companies to avail these opportunities for training of their youth talent, as MAP is regularly advertising these opportunities via emails and on our media pages, social media pages. Coming to today's 33rd Corporate Excellence Awards, the adjudication process of the awards was carried out, as always, to uphold objective norms and transparency in process of evaluation. Like in the past, the assessment work was outsourced to FAMCO Associates, led by Mr. Awais Khan. He's here this afternoon, a well-known management consultancy firm that diligently appraises ratios and turnover statistics, as well as attains ground-level understanding of business operations when ranking the winners. Step 1 in evaluation process for the competing company is the dividend payment criteria, which should aggregate to at least 45% over the last 3 years. Those that make beyond the first step enter round 2, whereby financial evaluation in the industrial and financial categories is done through a stringent criteria for due diligence. Based on dividend criteria and financial analysis, a ranking of companies for both categories is carried out as per Pakistan Stock Exchange classification sectors. Further, not-for-profit organizations are also invited to participate in the whole exercise. The top 5 companies of each sector were sent a management practice evaluation questionnaire focusing on the following management areas: corporate governance, strategic planning and communication, leadership, social responsibility, customer and market focus, human resource focus, operations management, information risk management, and IT governance. After validating the responses received from the competing companies, interviews of senior management were conducted in order to consolidate results and arrive at winner in each sector and overall winner in each category. Under the award scheme, there is one circulatory trophy for the overall winner in each category. That is the Amir S. Chinoy Industrial category and the Financial category. In addition, there are trophies for winning companies in remaining sectors, of both categories. For non-profit companies, award certificate is awarded for excellence. For next year, MAP is contemplating to include open-ended mutual funds as a separate category for which a criteria is being evaluated with the help of FAMCO. I take this opportunity to congratulate the winners of the 33rd Corporate Excellence Awards and hope that not only will they try to maintain the record of their best performance, but also become a role model for other companies to compete for this coveted accomplishment. At the same time, the efforts of runners-ups are much appreciated and need to be continued relentlessly, as we can expect any of you to receive such an award in the future. My special thanks to Dr. Ishrat for gracing the occasion, and I would like to, in the end, also thank Mr. Salahuddin and the MAP team for their excellent effort in organizing today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will request Ms. Amina Aziz, Director SECP, to please give her presentation on the topic, Evolution of Corporate Governance Framework in Pakistan. Ms. Amina Aziz is heading the Market Surveillance and Compliance Department in the Security Exchange Commission of Pakistan, a fellow member of Institute of Cost and Management Accounts. She has over 20 years of working experience in both private and public sector. She has extensive experience in company law administration, corporate restructuring, public policy, governance, reporting, and judicial order writing. Her area of expertise include enacting and monitoring implementation of corporate regulatory framework to enhance corporate governance. Ms. Amina Aziz, please come on the stage.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today I'll be briefly presenting the evolution of corporate governance in Pakistan. First, just to look at what corporate governance really is. Corporate governance revolves around the basic principle of fairness, transparency, and accountability. Contrary to the perception of many, corporate governance is not a new phenomenon. The concept of well-governed companies has been here since the formal business took over from barter trading system. Corporate governance received a fresh impetus and widespread recognition during the 1990s with the launching of the Cadbury Report and major corporate scandals in the West like the Enron scandal. Corporate governance is essential in establishing an attractive investment climate characterized by competitive companies and efficient financial markets. It is imperative that Pakistan develops and implements good governance practices in order to provide impetus to economic growth. In the realm of rapidly globalizing world characterized by liberalized markets, relatively freer trade, sophistication of financial products and instruments, and growing awareness among consumers, Pakistan is ripe with lucrative opportunities, both for foreign and local investors alike. In Pakistan, the first formal effort to introduce corporate governance principle was made by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan when it issued the 2002 Corporate Governance Code. The code was applicable to listed companies and was implemented through listing regulations of the stock exchanges. It was a major step in the corporate governance reforms in Pakistan. The code included many recommendations in line with international good practices. The major areas of enforcement included reforms of board of directors in order to make them more accountable to shareholders, better disclosures, and improved internal and external audit for listed companies. However, the 2002 code had limited provisions regarding directors' independence and which remained voluntary, and it provided no guidance on internal control, risk management, and board compensation policies. Governance standards are dynamic and change with the development of constantly evolving corporate sector and financial markets. This calls for a constant review of the governance framework to keep pace with globally set benchmarks. In an endeavor to align our corporate governance regime with enhanced requirements and global best practices, the SECP issued a revised code of corporate governance in 2012. The 2012 code strengthened board structures, made independent directors mandatory, separated the office of chairman and CEO, made directors training programs mandatory, prescribed qualifications for appointment as CFOs and head of internal audits, and strengthened the internal audit function. The 2012 code was also part of the listing regulations of the stock exchanges. In addition to the Code of Corporate Governance 2012, which was applicable on listed companies, some sector-specific codes were also issued by SECP, like the Insurance Companies Code for Corporate Governance. This code is built on the corporate governance framework for listed companies with some additions for some sector-specific provisions for insurance companies. Then, we have the Public Sector Companies Corporate Governance Rules 2013. There are many peculiarities attached to the way boards of companies that are directly or indirectly run by the government are controlled and function. These rules are tailor-made to the requirements of a public sector company in that essence. SECP has also framed voluntary principles of corporate governance for non-listed companies. These companies are major contributors to economic growth and employment all over Pakistan. These principles establish a framework of companies and processes and attitudes that add value to the business. That will help build its reputation and ensure long-term continuity and success. Reflecting on the diversity of non-listed companies, 13 governance principles are presented on a basis of dynamic stepwise process. This approach takes into account the specific nature of the company in terms of size, complexity, and maturity. These voluntary guidelines aim to change the corporate governance landscape for over 60,000 non-listed companies operating in Pakistan by providing a governance toolkit to improve their internal and external governance structures. In the early days of introduction of the Code of Corporate Governance, recognizing the fact that acceptance and adoption of corporate governance required a concerted effort, SECP, along with its partners, set up the Pakistan Institute of Corporate Governance, PICG. PICG was created to undertake activities geared towards achieving good corporate governance in the country and creating enabling environment for effective implementation of the Code of Corporate Governance. PICG is tasked with promotion and strengthening of the culture of legal and regulatory compliance and conformance by the body corporates. In 2016, it was decided to review the corporate governance framework once again. To make the review more comprehensive, a task force was formed. The task force was led by Mr. Ibrahim Sadat. Other members included representatives of PICG, PSX, SECP, CDC, corporate practitioners, and industry stakeholders. The task force started its work in May 2016, and after concerted deliberations, the draft recommendations for changes in the code were made to SECP in March 2017. The recommendations were duly considered and incorporated. However, revised code was withheld till the promulgation of the new companies law. In May 2017, the new Companies Act 2017 was approved by the Parliament and was promulgated and became effective. The Companies Act empowers the Commission to issue corporate governance regulations. The Code of Corporate Governance Regulations 2017 were then issued under the new Companies Act 2017. These regulations are, in essence, the revised Code of Corporate Governance 2012, issued under the Companies Act 2017. The revision of the revisions consist of the recommendations made by the task force and elimination of duplications with the Companies Act 2017. Because in the new Companies Act 2017, we see that many of the corporate governance practices and elements were incorporated and made part of the law itself. That we will be seeing in the next slides. These regulations were put to public comments in August 2017, and after that, the Commission held consultative sessions both in Karachi and Lahore before finalization of the regulations. Now coming to the corporate governance framework, both in the regulations and the Companies Act 2017. As I've mentioned, Companies Act 2017 features many provisions that relate to best practices in governance of companies. I will go through the corporate governance features included both in the Companies Act 2017 and in the Corporate Governance Regulations 2017, highlighting the changes, if any, that have been made in them with reference to the Corporate Governance Code 2012. First of all, we come to the composition of Board of Directors. Diversity continues to be the focus of the corporate governance regulations as well. Maximum directorship of a single person in listed companies has been reduced to 5. That means a person can be director in 5 listed companies at a single time. Prior to that, the Code of Corporate Governance 2012 had that the limit was set at 7 companies. However, the count does not include directorship in subsidiary companies of the same group. Then another important addition to the corporate governance framework, and which is mandatory, is the addition of the female director. Corporate Governance Code 2012 encouraged gender diversity, but did not mandate inclusion of female directors on the board. However, now the Companies Act 2017 requires that the Commission has to prescribe the number of female directors that are required to be on the board of listed companies. The Corporate Governance Regulations 2017 set that number at 1, at least 1 female director on the board. But the timeline for implementation of this requirement has been relaxed, and the boards have to have a female member either on their next reconstitution or within 1 year of the promulgation of the regulations, which is later. Then coming to another aspect of the board composition, the independent director. Companies Act 2017 requires independent directors to be selected from a data bank of individuals kept by any institute nominated by the Commission. The Act in Section 166 also provides a comprehensive criteria to qualify as independent director. Corporate Governance Code 2012 did not have any such requirements regarding the data bank. Another thing that the law adds to it is that it explicitly requires that an independent director shall be elected. The independent directors are, the number of independent directors have been increased to at least 2 or 1/3, whichever is higher. Prior to that, it was just at least one minimum independent director was required on the board. The independent directors are now required to file a declaration with SSCP that they qualify the criteria of independence as provided in the Companies Act 2017. The role of independent directors has been further enhanced, and the heads of the HR and audit committees are required to be independent directors as well. And another element in the regulation is that if an independent director is the chairman of the board of directors, then he cannot be the chairman of the audit committee. So a chairman of the audit committee and independent director has to be a different person from the person who is the chairman of the board, in case they're both independent directors. New provisions have been added regarding the meeting of board of directors. First, such change is aimed at addressing the conflict of interest of directors in such meeting. In a meeting where some directors is interested, the quorum requirement is enhanced, and the quorum requires presence of at least two independent directors. Then another requirement regarding the board meeting is that where there's an agenda in the board, which would imply that there would be some effect on the discipline and harmony of the company. If the information is prematurely leaked within the company, the directors have the privilege to excuse the CFO and the company secretary to keep the information, so that the agenda and the information discussion there can be made confidential. The concept of directors being accountable to the shareholders is further reinforced, and it has been made mandatory that all directors will attend the annual general meeting of the company. Evaluation of board members and board committees has been stressed and made mandatory as well. The board's responsibility to formulate policies on significant matters has been further stressed upon. Then coming to the board committees. One of the most important committee is the audit committee. Audit committee, the corporate governance regulations make it mandatory that the head of the audit committee is an independent director. And that this is also, it has been added through the regulations that the committee should include at least one financially literate person. The regulations further stipulate that CEO and CFO shall attend the meeting of the audit committee only on invitation, so that the independence of the audit committee is ensured. Another thing that has been added in the regulation to further strengthen the independence of the audit committee is that the head of internal audit's appraisal would be done jointly by the chairman of the board and the CEO. And coming to the HR committee. HR committee is one of the committees that was recommended in the 2002 code as well. And the 2002 code already required that majority of the members of the HR committee would be non-executive directors. But now the regulations require that the head of the HR committee too has to be an independent director. The terms of reference of the HR committee have been revisited, and they now include reassessing of profiles of candidates removed from the board. And a very important factor as well is the evaluation of the board members, and the board committees, which have been made mandatory in the regulations 2017. Another committee that the regulations recommend is the nomination committee. It is not a mandatory committee, but the regulations recommend that the companies form a nomination committee. The committee shall be responsible for considering and making recommendations to the board in respect of board committees and their chairmanships. The terms of reference of nomination committee shall be determined by the board of directors, and the board of directors have to ensure that there is no duplication or conflict with the matters stipulated under the terms of reference of the HR committee. Another committee that is suggested by the regulations is the Risk Management Committee. The terms of reference of the Risk Management Committee include monitoring and review of all material controls with respect to financial, operational, and compliance. Risk mitigation measures are to be assessed whether they're robust and whether integrity of financial information is ensured, and the appropriateness of the disclosure policy and risk framework of internal control have also need to be evaluated as per the TORs of the risk committee. The regulation, the Code of Corporate Governance Regulations 2017 prescribes qualifications for filling in positions, important statutory positions like the CFO and the head of internal audit. There are a variety of qualifications. People with variety of qualifications can function on these, basically as these officials. But the experience requirement has been differentiated upon. Members of professional bodies, professional accountant bodies, required to have 3 years experience. And then a graduate or postgraduate degree postgraduate degree holders require 5 years of experience, and a graduate degree holders requires 7 years of experience, but prior to its appointment, his or her appointment, approval from commission is required. Then another aspect that in which the regulations focus upon and which the focus has been added is the directors training program. This is an international practice. Corporate governance frameworks all over the world lay emphasis on training of directors, and similarly is the case with these regulations. The corporate governance regulations widen the scope of the training requirements, and not only does it provide a staggered number in which the directors need to be trained, like by June 30th, 2019, the regulations require that at least 50% of the directors of listed companies have had the training under the directors training program. Then by 2020, that has to go up till 75%, and by the year 2021, all the directors of listed companies are required to have had the training under the directors training program. But the scope of the training program has now been widened to the management level as well. The regulations require that the company arranges a directors training program for its executives, and stress has been laid on the training of female executives And a listed company is required to train at least one female executive every year by the year 2019. And similarly, the head of departments have to attend training programs, and that requirement has to be met by the year 2021. Now I come to the disclosures and compliance aspect of the regulations. Listed companies are required to publish a compliance report with the regulations along with their annual reports. The directors are expected to explain and justify any non-conformity with the regulations. And this compliance report is required to be reviewed and certified by the statutory auditors as well. And statutory auditors are required to highlight any non-compliance of these regulations in their review report. This requirement was there in the 2012 code as well, and this has been retained. The report has been structured to some extent, and the duplications have been eliminated. The things that were covered in the law are no more in the compliance report now. Furthermore, the regulations also encourage companies to display on their website their significant policies and key elements of directors' remuneration. However, this requirement is not mandatory. This just encourages the companies to do so. Companies can seek relaxations from the requirement of corporate governance regulations on payment of a prescribed fee as well. This was briefly what the code of the corporate governance framework requires in Pakistan. But being actively involved in the cause of corporate governance, I can confidently say that no amount of regulatory intervention can fully institutionalize corporate governance unless boards, senior management of corporates appreciate the value additions of corporate governance to their productivity and competitiveness. So in other words, what I mean to say is that until and unless we successfully make a business case of corporate governance, the corporate governance won't make sense to companies and won't be implemented in letter and spirit. Maybe the companies will be doing the tick box exercise, but they won't be actually implementing the corporate governance practices in spirit and won't be reaping the benefits that are expected out of it. Listed on this slide are some unique attributes of corporate governance in Pakistan, which hinder best corporate governance practices to take root. The basic need is to change the mindset, to buy in the business case of corporate governance. For instance, a major challenge for companies-owned corporation is succession. Corporate governance, if implemented in such companies, can result in improved stewardship as well as better succession planning. Then we have the issue of the multiple directorship, and these multiple directorship is often kept to keep control of the company. So that needs to address as well. The management and the majority shareholders need to understand that corporate governance measures are good for the company and are for the benefit of the shareholders. SCCP does not sit on the board, hence corporate governance practice needs to be strengthened. Priority to improve compliance with the code, reviewing regulatory shift, that is from listed regulations to Companies Act, is a step in that direction. But I'll say it again, private sector engaged in the business have to take lead and improve the corporate governance practices in Pakistan. There's a need to increase awareness in business community of importance of good corporate governance and incentivize them by highlighting the benefits of improved image and potential to attract investors by adoption of good governance principles. I end my presentation with the quote from the USSEC, which I don't think so needs any explanation. Thank you very much. Fine. जी.
Governance. My name is Amir Jamil Abbasi. In terms of the evolution of the Code of Corporate Governance from 2002, I just want to recognize that apart from Mr. Ibrahim Sadat, Sayyid Masood Ali Naqvi, our senior partner, former senior partner of KPMG, was also involved, along with Mr. Khalid Mirza at that time, isn't it, Masood? So that was the starting of evolution process where they assisted SCCP in developing the first code of corporate governance. I just wanted to recognize Masood Saab as well in that. A couple of questions relating to the implementation of code of corporate governance that actually we have been debating amongst the professionals as well. Is one of those is you did not touch upon is upon the definition of related parties. As you are aware that Companies Act 2017 has defined related parties in a very broad category. And it is very difficult for the board of directors and the board members to actually establish which are the related parties, because your brother, for example, not your immediate family member, even your brother holding one share can be your related party. So that is something actually you have tried to address it in the Code of Corporate Governance, but through the FAQs. You have put in FAQs. But do you think FAQs is the right thing to do? And going forward in the future, how are we going to address this? Because there are a number of other areas in the Companies Act 2017 where we need to actually sort out the anomalies in the Companies Act. So is SCCP doing the process of change in the law as well? Because you have changed the schedules which were within your powers, like Schedule 4, 5, 3, 4 and 5, where the definition of related party was changed and all that. But unless you change the actual law, all these issues will still remain, and you will have to actually come up with some stopgap arrangements. So this question number 2 is about the attendance of all the board members in the annual general meeting. This may not be practically possible because you have foreign shareholder directors as well, who might be residing in some other countries, and it may not be possible for them to attend in physically. So I'm sure you must have.
That's easy to address, but
yeah,
they can.
That's
like,
easy, but still for the benefit
of
of the audience, if you can actually
as far
elaborate.
as
Thank you.
attendance of annual general meeting by all directors is concerned, the directors that are not here in Pakistan or maybe in other city as well, they can attend through a video conferencing. The personal physical presence is not required. It is just they have to be there. It could be through the modern technology, and that is fine. Because the Companies Act recognizes that meetings can be held through video conferencing. Even shareholders can participate through video conferencing. So directors can also participate through that. Regarding changes and problems in the Companies Act, as far as I know, there's an in-house committee at the Commission which is looking at all these issues that are being faced on it, and they're working on it.
Sorry. I'm just saying that March accounts are coming up, so related
we've
party
tried to address
will
this
still come
through
up.
the changes in the schedule, but the change
No, but the Act still has the related party definition, which is very broad.
But that will take a bit of a time, because once our recommendations are formulated, because I think they're going to be, they're finalizing the recommendation at the end of this month, and then they go to the ministry and where they're vetted. So it's a process is a bit longer than that of the schedules or regulations.
Just to clarify, Mr. Zahid Zahir also was involved with Mr. Masood Naqvi in the first Code of Corporate Governance development.
So they're the pioneers in the corporate governance.
They are the pioneers. They are the pioneers.
Institute took the lead. There was a full committee which was involved, and it formed a subcommittee. And that subcommittee actually worked on the detailed 2002 Code of Corporate Governance. And then actually it was brought to the Institute's committee which was formed. Credit should go to the Institute Chartered Accountants of Pakistan, who took the lead, took the initiative, and then Khalid followed through the whole thing.
So that is how the foundations of corporate
Yeah,
governance were laid.
absolutely.
I totally agree
Absolutely.
with that.
I would now like to invite Executive Director MAP, Mr. Salahuddin, to introduce the chief guest.
Assalamu alaikum. It's my pleasure to introduce the chief guest of today's ceremony, Dr. Ishrat Hussain. Dr. Ishrat has been Public Policy Fellow at the Woodrow Wilson Center in Washington, D.C. He served as Dean and Director of IBA Karachi. He has served as the Chairman, National Commission for Government Reforms with the status of a Federal Minister. He has served as the Governor of State Bank of Pakistan, where he implemented a major program of restructuring the central bank and steered the reforms of the banking sector. In recognition of his meritorious services, he was conferred the prestigious award of Hilal-e Imtiaz by the President in 2003. And again, in 2016, he got the highest civilian award, Nishan-e Imtiaz. The Banker magazine of London declared him as the Central Bank Governor of the Year for Asia in 2005. He received the Asian Banker Lifetime Achievement Award in 2006. Dr. Hussain had a distinguished career at the World Bank for over 2 decades, in 1979-1999. He is a member of Middle East Group of the IMF, a member of President Advisory Council of IDB, and was Chairman World Economic Forum Global Advisory Council on Pakistan until June 2014. Dr. Hussain has authored 18 books. His book, Pakistan, The Economy of the Elitist State, is widely read in Pakistan and outside. His latest book, Governing the Ungovernable, was launched very recently. He is the Distinguished National Professor of Economics and Public Policy and chairs and serves on the boards of several research institutes, philanthropic and cultural organizations. Dr. Ishrat obtained his master's degree in development economics from Williams College and doctorate in economics from Boston University in '78. He is a graduate of Executive Development Program jointly sponsored by Harvard, Stanford, and INSEAD. So ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ishrat Hussain.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. President, Management Association of Pakistan, members of the Executive Committee, past presidents, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me thank the Executive Committee for inviting me on this occasion. I know the retired governors do not attract that much attention as the serving, so I'm here, but I'm very pleased to be filling in the shoes of the governor who had to go away on a very urgent matter. It is a pleasure for me to be addressing this very distinguished gathering for a very simple reason. I was in Davos in January, And the burning issue which the chief executives from all over the world were debating is what is the social purpose of a company? What do we do? And that relates me to the corporate excellence. Is corporate excellence only limited to maximization of the shareholder value, that dividends, profits, or is it beyond that? And that is something I want you to ponder about as the leaders of the profession here, whether you will continue in the same tradition as it has been in the past, or you try to bring yourself in line with the future thinking about management and about the usefulness of a firm. Of course, there has been an evolution from profit being the only bottom line to the triple bottom line, which is profits, people, and planets. And that, I think, is sinking in the larger international business community. And I can give you the evidence that those funds, which are called the ESG funds, the environmental, social, and governance funds, give a much higher returns to their investors compared to the S&P 500 or any other benchmark. So this gives you not an inconsistency between the profit maximization, but rather the higher values of social purpose, which you should consider. So your criteria, I would suggest, for the future should not be limited to the traditional ways of measuring excellence, but your concept of excellence should be broadened to relate it with the social usefulness and the purposefulness of the company. I hope that you will consider this suggestion. My second submission to you is that you have a manpower and a brain power and experience of thousands of years. You are still a very inward-looking organization where you have training and seminars and conferences and awards for your own members. But 50 years later, you have to think about your mandate, whether you would remain what you were, or would you have a larger outreach program whereby you would train, bring into fold of the formal management structures and the corporate structures, the companies which are outside your realm. There are many companies which require your assistance, your guidance, your, I would say, mentorship program, whereby some of these companies can be folded into your umbrella over a period of time. Because the universe which you have at this moment is minuscule as compared to what the total universe of the companies which are registered, for example, with SCCP is. Even the listed companies are actually dwindling, are getting smaller in numbers on the Pakistan Stock Exchange. The family businesses are becoming much more savvy about the opportunities which not only the national markets, but the international markets do offer them. But they do not know how to go about that. And therefore, I would suggest that the Management Association of Pakistan should try to look at its mandate and try to have a program for outreach, for mentorship, for companies to bring in your fold rather than just wait for the members to join you. This is a proactive approach in order to help Pakistan. And the third point I would like to emphasize is that the future is that of the human resource and human capital. Resource is no longer the buzzword. The buzzword today is the human capital. As compared to financial or physical capital, the driver of growth in the future is going to be intellectual capital, creativity, innovation, which will rely on technology and human capital. But you must look at your labor relations. Would you continue to have a productivity level which is only 40% of your peer countries because you do not train, you do not invest in your labor, both skilled and unskilled labor? You have contractual relationships which does not provide the opportunities for these people to have a stable labor force in the country. The productivity differentials today can be explained very much by the nature of the relationship between the employer and the employees. The companies which have invested in their employees, upgraded their skills, given them the incentives, and monitor them through a mechanism which is based on performance, have done extremely well compared to those who just use the labor as a means of producing goods for profit maximization purposes. I would very much urge those of you who are progressive in their outlook and looking forward for the future to think about this so much of potential between what is possible and what is being achieved. Even if you push the frontier from 40% to 50%, this economy, I think, will grow not by 5%, by at least 6%. And if you push the frontier of productivity from 50% to 60% and reduce the gap, in agriculture, in industries and services, this is across the board. This is not just one. You will have the growth rate of 7 to 8%, which will enable you to absorb the 1.5 million young men and women of this country who are going to enter the labor force. So I'm very happy that you have these awards, which is extremely important, but you must consider to change the criteria and concepts of excellence. I want to congratulate all those who are going to win these awards, and I hope that you will become the role model for others. Thank you once again for inviting me.
President MAP, Mr. Asif Ikram, Vice President MAP, Mr. Amir Abbasi, Treasurer MAP, Mr. Talib Kareem, and Executive Director MAP, Mr. Salahuddin, are requested to please come on the stage and present a memento to Chief Guest. Mr. Ishrat Hussain, please come on the stage as well. Chief Guest is now requested to present a memento to Ms. Amina Aziz, Director, SECP. Thank you so much, everyone. Now I will request Mr. Salahuddin, Executive Director MAP, to please announce the results of 33rd Corporate Excellence Award. Mr. Salahuddin.
Ladies and gentlemen, as per our tradition, we shall begin by appreciating those institutional members who have a long association with MAP, and I would request the chief guest, along with the President MAP and the office bearers, to please award mementos as a token of MAP's appreciation. GSK Pakistan for being one of the oldest institutional members for over 50 years. Abbott Laboratories Pakistan for being one of the oldest institutional members of MAP for over 50 years. Another tradition that we follow is to honor MAP's past presidents by conferring MAP's honorary membership in recognition of their outstanding services to MAP. I would request the chief guest to please award a memento to Mr. Salim Majidullah, who was our president for 1972 to 1974. Mr. Sanaullah Qureshi, he was a president from 1985 to 1987. Mr. Zahid Zahir, MAP President from 1987 to 1989. A memento for Mr. Owais Khan, CEO of FEMCO, appreciating the exhaustive work done for evaluation process of the awards in a most transparent manner. Mr. Tariq Ikram, MAPS past president for 1996-1997. And now the results of 33rd Corporate Excellence Awards. After applying the dividend criteria, 197 companies were evaluated and management questionnaires were sent to 96 companies that topped the list. Ranking of companies was carried out as per Pakistan Stock Exchange classification of sectors. We shall begin by awarding the certificates of excellence first for the runner-up companies. It is requested that only the CEOs of the companies or their nominees may please come on stage to receive the certificate from the chief guest. We'll begin with not-for-profit sector excellence certificates. We have Shaukat Khanam Memorial Hospital, the Citizens Foundation, LRBT, certificates of excellence for runner-up companies in industrial category. The sector is automobile assemblers and the runner-up company is Millat Tractors Limited. Sector is automobile parts and accessories, and the certificate goes to Atlas Battery Limited. Sector is cement, Atak Cement Limited. Pharmaceuticals, High Noon Laboratories Limited. Sector is Chemical, Beafo Industries Limited. Sector is Paper and Board, Security Papers Limited. Now we move up to financial categories. Runner-up certificates, Insurance Sector, EFU Life Assurance Limited. Mudarbas, first Habib Mudarba. Investment banks and investment companies, Arif Habib Limited. Mutual funds, Al-Falah GHP Stock Fund. And now the award winners, Industrial Sector, Tobacco, Pakistan Tobacco Company Limited. Oil and Gas Exploration Companies, award goes to Murray Petroleum Company Limited. Automobile Assemblers, award goes to Al Ghazi Tractors. Automobile Parts and Accessories, award goes to Thal Limited. Transport sector, Pakistan International Container Terminal Limited. Cement sector, Lucky Cement Limited. Fertilizer, Foji Fertilizers Company Limited. Pharmaceuticals, Abbott Laboratories Pakistan Limited. Chemical sector, Akroma Pakistan Limited. Paper and board sector, Chirag Packaging Limited. Personal Care Products, Colgate Palmolive Pakistan Limited. Engineering, KSP Pumps Company Limited. Miscellaneous, Shifa International Hospitals Limited. Now the financial sector award winners, Commercial Banks, Allied Bank Limited. Insurance, Jubilee Life Insurance Company Limited. Leasing, Oryx Leasing Pakistan Limited. Next is Modarbas, Oryx Modarba Limited. Investment banks and investment companies, EFG Homes Pakistan Limited. Mutual funds, Atlas Stock Market Fund. And finally, the trophy winners for the overall financial category, Corporate Excellence Award, Jubilee General Insurance Company Limited. Industrial category, Amir S. Shonai Corporate Excellence Award, Indus Motor Company Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now request Vice President MAP and Chairperson of the Corporate Excellence Awards Subcommittee, Mr. Amir Jamil Abbasi, for his vote of thanks.
I'm standing between you and tea, so I'll keep it as short as possible, but I have to give some thanks and appreciations. So I'll just, as we come to close of the 33rd Corporate Excellence Award ceremony on behalf of the Management Association of Pakistan, it is my pleasure to thank you all who have helped make this event such a big success. For the winners and runner-ups of the 33rd Corporate Excellence Awards, success is not final, and in the same way, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So those who have not been able to win a trophy today, they are most encouraged to actually excel in future. I take this opportunity to thank our valued chief guest, Dr. Ishrat Hussain. I had the honor of attending the book launching ceremony at the Karachi Literature Festival, and it was a very good experience for me. And I have got 2 sets of books already with me, personally signed by you, sir, which is an honor for me. And it is indeed a book which talks about our country's economic conditions and how we can improve our institutional performances and improve our economy. So again, it's your 18th book, and but this is something for our governments to actually learn from and to focus on those 23 or 24 institutions that you have identified. I would also like to thank all the participating companies, MAP members, and all our guests who have made today's event a memorable experience. I would also like to thank all our partners. We've already named them as well, but I would like to again name them. The Grand Partner, Indus Motor Company; Crystal Partner, Jubilee Life Insurance; Silver Partner, SICPA Inc. Limited, and Atlas Battery; Bronze Partner, Jubilee Insurance. And I tell you, without your help, this would not have been possible. And a special thanks to the media representatives who are here for the coverage of the event. A sincerest thanks to Ms. Amina Aziz for coming all the way over from Islamabad for making a comprehensive presentation on the Code of Corporate Governance. We actually learned a lot from the new Code of Corporate Governance rules and actually understood some of the issues that are being taken up by the SCCP. Mr. Uwais Khan, the CEO of FEMCO, thank you very much, sir, for your hard work and your submission of reports on time, and you made the event possible on a timely basis. And then all the MAP officers, very ably led by the Executive Director, Mr. Salahuddin, who always keeps a quiet demeanor, but he's always there leading the MAP Secretariat, and the Secretariat team, all of them, Ushna and Ishaq and all those people, and our student volunteers for their valuable support. And with that I end, and thank you very much, and the tea is served now. Thank you very much. Until we meet again next year, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, meanwhile, winner of Amir Sinai Industrial Category Award, Indus Motor Company Limited team, may please come on the stage for a group photograph with the chief guest. Dr. Ishrat Hussain, you are requested to please come on the stage for the group photograph. I would request the companies, winner companies to please stay for the group photographs. Winner of Amir Estinai Industrial Category Award, Indus Motor Company Limited team, may please come on the stage for the group photograph. Winners, please come on the stage. Aage. Present MAP, please come on the stage. Yes, sir, please. Yes, Indus Motor Company. Indus Motor Company. Okay. Only Indus Motor Company are requested to come on the stage first. The team of Indus Motor Company are requested. बहुत सारे sir. Cameraman, please be ready. Cameraman, please. Amir sir. Amir sir. Winner of Financial Category Award, Jubilee General Insurance Company Limited. Team, please come on the stage. Jubilee General Insurance Company team. Winner of Financial Category Award, Jubilee General Insurance Company Limited team, may please come on the stage. Winners of sectoral awards, please come on the stage. Only the CEOs are requested to come on the stage. Winners of sectoral awards, please come on the stage for the group photograph. Winners of sectoral awards, please come on the stage.